Okay, so it's a lot happening today on the set because I have my sister on the show with me, and she's a part of all this. This is her space that she works in at the church, so she may remind me of just a lot of unproductivity happening right now, or lack of productivity, or whatever. But I do want to ask this question because in this book, talking about how we love, that it's really about the overarching call of the believer to love God with everything, heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. And I don't think that we often talk about what that looks like in the context of family. Because family, you kind of feel like you don't have any options. It's just like they're yours. Thanks, God. And then you just move on. Whether you want them or not. Right. But that love does evolve. I don't know that it's less, like you always have a sense of fundamental like care, foundational care for your family if they're sick or something like that. But I think there's facets of that evolve. And I was thinking like even our relationship, especially now older, I'm 50, you're 5 years older than that. And so, which is 40, 45, 50 minus 5. That's right. I knew that. I knew that. Borrow and then just up your ankles. So now at this age, I feel like we're better friends than we ever were. And that has continued to evolve. Even I think I always felt like a sense of responsibility when it came to you, which probably got on your nerves. This is just the oldest child thing, like telling you what to do, and you were like, we're telling you what to do. So that was there, protective love, that kind of stuff. But the friendship part, I think, kind of started maybe your late 20s, my early 30s, and has continued to evolve. Even, I would say, even in the last year or two has continued. Oh, yeah, evolve. For sure. So I'm curious, what do you like? How do you see that? What do you think contributed to that evolution? Was it intentional, or do you think it was just organic? It just happened with time. We too old to argue. Well, yeah. To be clear, you are never too old. You are never too old. Fair point.
But I will say, I think the intentionality is twofold. I think it is time, time that has evolved, time that you have grown, right, personally. You experience things that you didn't experience when you were a kid, right? So when, like you were saying, when you were 7, I was 2, right? There are things at 2 that I don't get. There are things at 12 and you're 17 that I'm like, it's not that big of a deal, right? As you get older, that the gap is still there in age years,
Yeah.
but the experiences begin to overlap, right? You get to experience some of the same things as you get older. So I would say that was some of the intentionality. And then the other part, obviously, the Holy Spirit. I think that I'll listen. I came through without God. I think so. Without God, without that relationship that you have with Jesus, there are a lot of things that you get to miss. And I say you get to miss those because that's an option. That's a choice that you've made to not know Jesus, right? The more you know him and the more relationship evidence you see that he had, and even the people who followed him, the relationships that they have, you kind of have a different understanding of what that looks like.
Yeah.
And why you should love and how you should love. And then grace is like a whole nother thing, right?
Yeah.
So all the things that you may have blamed somebody for because you didn't understand, or maybe you didn't have a full picture. This is what it looked like for me. This is what it looked like for you.
Yeah.
When you get older, some of it doesn't matter. And then some of it is just like, you know what? I don't know what that was like to be the oldest child. I don't know what it was like to be the last one in the house. So, yeah, okay, it's fine. You know what? Shirks. Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like, okay, you know what? Not too old to argue. We can always still prove a point, but it's just different.
Yeah.
It's different experience space.
See, I'm wondering. Now, I agree. I agree. In addition to that, plus plus is a contraction about. Well, yes, it shouldn't be. Plus, so plus. Gotta say it real southern. But in addition to that, I was thinking about probably in the last maybe 10 years, because now my son's 12. I'm thinking I remember one of these first conversations being at our former house when he was a baby. That's what I'm saying. 12 years, huh? Yeah. But I would say the last 10 years we've had at least 10 to 15 conversations that were below the waterline. Like start off as something,
Yeah.
and in the beginning, you know, I felt like they started off as argumentative, like, well, no, because you, and I was like, no,
And
because you.
accusatory sometimes. Yeah. Downright accusatory.
I'm like, you respond. You're like, I was not smart.
Yeah.
There was something at work.
Yes, you don't know.
Sure.
And then
You weren't there.
oh, you fool.
What is that from? Was it Cece? Alabaster Box. Oh, thank you, Cece. Keeps on giving. In ways not intended. Ways not intended. My. A gift is a gift. Let me get my thought out. Okay, so I'm saying I feel like those are more argumentative, defensive in the beginning stages, but then it would be like argument defense for 30, 40 minutes an hour, and then at the end, be like, okay, I mean, I guess I get it. But we didn't really, really get it. It was just like incremental, I feel like increased understanding.
Yeah. So think about that 10 years ago and think about a below the waterline argument this year. Well, not this year, 2024.
Yeah.
It's been a good year, fortunately. It was only, we haven't had one in 2025, and that's saying something. So, I will say that they are not as below the waterline as they used to be. So, like, you don't even start, the cut doesn't start, yeah, as it used to. I will also say that the understanding, for lack of better phrasing, comes quicker.
I would agree with that.
Right? So, like, sometimes it's the arguing, and it takes a minute for you to really understand the other person's perspective.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I remember I was talking to this girl. Actually, I was eavesdropping a conversation she was having, but I was older than her, and I wasn't listening on purpose. But I just remember her saying, she was like 20 something, and she said she was talking to this guy, and she was just like, "It's just so annoying because, like, my parents are always," and I mean, that she talked with all really stuff. She was like, "My parents are always calling. They're like always checking up, and they want to know where I am all the time." She was in college, right? So she thought I was grown. Yeah, yeah. And she was just like, it's joke like, "Oh my God." And I said, "Pardon me. I did not mean to be listening." I did. I was like, I did not mean to be eavesdropping. I was like, but as a 40-year-old and the last child, I will tell you that does not stop.
You sure do?
It doesn't quit. So I think even in some of those instances, I say that because, like, being the last child has its own challenges as being the eldest child, right? So, like, I think sometimes dad has me stuck in this capsule of time where he's like, "No, this is how old you are." I'm like, "Bro, I'm 45.
Right.
And he's like, "Who cares? You're 16. You're going to do what I said."
Right.
I wasn't calling for your opinion
Right.
or your
It was
advice.
FYI.
I was FYIing you.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, "Well, you should have done this. You know what? I'm coming over. I'm going to fix it." No one asked for that. Right. So there's a lot of that. So sometimes when we have those arguments, I'd be like, "You don't get it. Like, you were the oldest child." And he was like, "Oh my God." And she's doing everything right. And this is not everything
I just
right.
would like to say,
but this is how
for the
I did it. You
record-
did it like he did it.
but I would just like to say, and this is just advice for the siblings that
Oh,
think
advice for
other
others.
person.
I was like,
Yeah.
it came so quickly.
I didn't do everything right, but I did not get caught. This one right here. See, your problem was audacity.
I had it.
I'm like, she took the car. I was like, who? Me sneaking out with friends who have a car? I'm not going to take one of our vehicles because we're going to.
and
This
so-
joke. And how old were you? Like 13?
I was 13. But we were latchkey
trying to
kids.
even visualize
Okay, so
you
now wait a
backing
minute.
out of the
Wait a minute.
driveway.
Wait a minute. Okay, so my point was we see things differently. But to come back to that, right? And it was funny, as you say, that I would sneak out of the house and go with friends. I would never sneak out of the house, right? Why?
didn't?
No, I never snuck out.
You just walked out the front door.
Well, so the difference was no one was ever home.
That's true.
You were in college. Mommy
That's
worked.
true.
Daddy traveled. Like, no one was
There's
ever
that whole
there.
season that I don't get because I was
Right.
yeah.
So I was just like, I'm just at home.
Let me drive this car.
And then I was like, I want to do something else.
And by the way, do you know how you got caught?
Yes, I got caught 3 different ways because my audacity
That
said, if you got caught, it's because you didn't do it correctly.
Right. Not because it was
So,
wrong. You
right.
need to
So
plan better.
while I got caught 3 different times, it was for 3 different reasons.
Right.
To be
Because
clear.
you did improve each time.
I did. I grew. So
This girl tried to she tried to guess how much gas she had driven out. So I'm trying to imagine this 13-year-old at Chevron, a gas
Texaco.
station.
I was at Texaco.
she's at the gas station using my parents' gas card. Because back in the day, you had credit cards just for a gas station.
Yeah.
And this joke was
Charge
trying
card.
to guess a charge card. She's trying to guess how much gas she drove out. And so my dad looking through the credit card statement, everything is like $30, $30, $30, $29. And then there's one charge for $2.36. And he was like, who charged $2 worth of gas and shit?
But like several charges, because it was like $2 and I was like, ooh, I need a little bit more. So I would do it again. The problem was Mommy had a wallet.
It had 99
Oh
cards
my
in there.
God. It wouldn't even close. It looked like
Jaskies,
looked like
Polish, Mexico.
it looked like somebody had taken accordion paper and folded it accordion style and then did like this. Like that's what the credit card thing looked like. And I was
remember that
like,
thing.
good Lord. Also,
You were like, I
lady,
struck gold.
yes, I was like, take this one. She doesn't ever use it. I didn't know about credit cards, guys. I was 13.
Or statements.
Or statements.
And their daddy read all the statements.
All of them. Mostly because Mom was like, I haven't used my Texas card in a long time. And so she got a bill and was like,
Where?
also, what did I spend $2 on? So it was lots of confusion there.
Investigative thread
Yeah.
began to unravel.
It did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But you couldn't take your car to college, so there was just a car at the house.
I couldn't. And there's some baggage I need to deal with.
Yeah, you were sad about it.
So, but I think to your point, like in these conversations, I remember, I don't know if you had this moment. I remember since you started working here, which that's been like 5 years, almost 5 years. I remember as recently as that, early conversations about whatever that would lead into bigger conversations. Sometimes it'd be text, like, and that's why, and then don't you ever long. And so, and they would come back around, but I remember a couple of distinct moments where I read the message and I was like, okay, I get it. She frustrated. And it didn't trigger the defensiveness that it would have, or vice versa, where I've said something and I'm like, I don't know what she's going to say.
And you have said that.
Like, that makes sense.
I don't know. Oh, like if I've said that makes sense, you're like, I wasn't sure how that was going to go. You will text me that and I'll be like, fair.
Yeah, right. And I don't think that's just age though. I think that is probably, and I'm just going to be honest, probably for the first time in our relationship, I would say over the last, not just 10 years, probably more in the last 7, if I'm honest. I have been like, oh, this is a whole separate human, individual woman outside of being my sister. I'm learning about her. Does that make sense? Oh my gosh, I almost makes me emotional. Because I'm just like, oh my goodness. It's more than just, this is my baby sister. I know what she gonna do. I know what she gonna say. And I think the hard part of love is being intentional every time, even when you have history, giving that person a fresh chance every time.
So I think we do that more.
I
I know there are no tissues in here.
Right.
They were not prepared. And I'm so glad it happened to you first. But I will say, I think we.
Ma'am, come on with your thoughts.
So I have a thought about pettiness. That was my pause. I think that most of the time, how we perceive people, how we respond to people is colored by some experience you've had.
Absolutely.
Right?
Especially with family,
think,
'cause you
right.
had so
I was going to
many
say, it's so different with family. I think we have a tendency to give strangers or people that we don't encounter often more grace.
Absolutely.
Some of it is because of the history, but some of it is just like, no, I know you.
Right.
So you can tell me whatever you want,
It don't
but
matter what
I
you
know,
say.
right.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then you also have to look at, you think about mom and dad, you think about you and I even think sometimes about Joa and Chloe. We all have this fixed position in each other's lives, right? It's not just that I'm your sister. It's also that I'm your younger sister. So these are fixed positions that also color how we respond. And what that looks like in the history of how your relationship can either, I mean, it ebbs and flows, but it can go all the way left or it can right, you know? And I remember specifically, again, Joa, when he was here, because I came to live with you in Conway, and both of us were kind of like,
how's this gonna go?
first of all,
why did we make this decision? It was a decision of necessity.
Emotional.
Yeah, it was a decision of necessity. Obviously, first kid.
Right.
What are we doing?
Right.
You guys had Joa much later in life, right? I was in a. I was in like this job crisis. I was like, I hate my job. I don't. What am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And so you were like, we need help, and I was like, sold. And then after, I was like, wait, I'm going to be at your house? Like, I'm not living with mom and dad and driving to your house. I'm living at your house. And we both kind of walked into that like, I think this will be good, but also,
Yeah. Right. This could be explosive.
Yeah. But I think, though, because that was the first time you were saying, that was the first time we'd lived together in like 30 years.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yeah. With a baby.
And a husband.
Yes.
So many dynamics had changed,
Yeah.
except that you were my sister. I was the baby sister. And I was like, listen, you're going to parent Joa. You are not parenting me while I'm in this house, lady.
Do what I said.
Yeah. And I would be like, I'm going upstairs. Goodbye. For the day. Goodbye for the day.
Did you feel like that was, so far as our relationship, do you feel like that was a strained time mostly? Or do you feel like I feel like we had moments of strain, but for the most part,
No,
it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, much.
And let me tell you how bad it was. Girl, mom and dad would be texting like, y'all all right? I'm like, how bad do you think it's going to be? And they were like, y'all loving each other?
And your grandmother. I'm just glad y'all
praying
loving
every
each
day.
other. Yeah. It made you wonder, like, how bad were we as kids? Like,
We were
geez.
crazy.
Now, I will say specifically, I was crazy.
Yeah.
There were some moments where I think mom was like, who's Jada? Okay, I see that. I think there were definitely some moments where, like, my emotions, especially as a child, were super explosive. And mom was like,
Do you remember that?
yes.
And it's so funny to me.
Oh, I need it. My eyes are watering. Can I also get a
I
tissue?
haven't really used this tissue. It's just balled up. Whatever, we're related.
Not eye related.
It doesn't make any sense. Not eye related. You wouldn't share my eyeliner? What kind of relationship?
I don't know, Jada. You know, you go out in and out of being like a germaphobe. You'd
That's
be like, oh my God, I would never share that. And then be
In
like,
a
Tresa,
crisis,
let me
though?
borrow.
In a desert, I
I
lost my
mean,
makeup bag.
germs are germs. Crisis or patience.
Who says we're not eye related?
Nobody.
Just make it up.
Anyway, yeah. What was I saying? We were talking about mom and dad living at the house. Oh, being crazy. My emotional.
Now we can add old to that because now we just lost that. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I was saying.
I do remember
was
emotional, just
surprised
like,
because
You are an emotional person.
Super.
Your emotions can go real deep, real high. But even today, like, I don't remember the anger except for when you were a kid. But now, me having my own strong-willed child, I really think that the emotions available to a kid are so limited that anything that now we can express as frustration or annoyance or irritation just comes out in anger. Like, I'm gonna tear up this toy.
Well,
Like,
and so, God bless mom, who,
Bless her.
I mean, I'm introverted like mom, but she's more introverted than I am, and super sweet, and was at the house by herself with me because dad was traveling. So she's just like, what? I don't know what to do. Also, because mom has said more than once, having Jada and then having you was like having two first children.
I know.
She was like,
It's
y'all
like me. It's
were
like
like
us.
night and day. She was like, nothing I did for Jada worked for you at
Absolutely.
all. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought this was supposed to like build.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's what happens.
no.
You have your first kid.
and you think you know what you're doing. Especially, like, we had Joa. And it's not because one kid's better than the other, but
No.
their temperaments are
Completely different.
Joe was a compliant child, generally. I mean, he's a boy. He tears up stuff and burns things and throws things in the ceiling. But has he burned anything?
I don't
No,
think he's
but he
burned
does throw
anything.
things
He
in the
probably
ceiling.
tried that.
And I still have sticky toys on my ceiling. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so, but generally compliant. And so
Yeah.
then you're like, yeah, we can have another.
God, bet. Do it.
And you get Chloe.
Yeah.
I'm
and
sure, I know how they felt. They probably like, well, throw that handbook away.
Right. And what do we do with her? Do we get her counseling? Do we send her away?
Mom was like,
could
"We need to
somebody else
pray.
take
We're
her?
gonna lay hands and pray and get her a counselor." Daddy, she need a whooping.
And whoopings I got. Boy, I tell you what.
All
I
the
don't know how much
time.
they changed, like who I was.
No,
though.
you still defiant, girl. I remember one time. Do you remember the whooping of all whoopings?
when you were at your friend's house. I tell that story.
I know you tell it far too often, but yes, I do remember.
That's when parents have been in jail. Listen.
Yeah,
because
definitely
you know
our
what's crazy?
father.
We went to. You were at a friend's house. This has nothing to do with nothing, but you were at your friend's house, and mom went to pick you up, and your crazy tail told her, "I'm not ready to go home.
Coming."
So my mother walks back in the house, tears in her eyes. She's so tender, and my dad is sitting on the couch like, "What's wrong with you? Where is Tresa?" My mama said
She said
she wouldn't come. My dad said, "She what?" TV off. I was like, "Oh, get my shoes on. This is about to be good."
I can't stand you.
She has really lost it.
I had.
Girl, you made daddy walk up in them people's house.
I did.
And turn on all the lights and call the mama out because she was upstairs asleep. He's like, "You a bad parent. You got these kids." That whole scene I could replay.
Yeah.
It marked me.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this though. Do you remember that? Like
I do.
that?
Yeah.
Was it defining? Were you like, I have maybe
No,
lost
I don't
my
know if
mind.
it was. No, I don't know if it was defining.
It marked me, and I wasn't in trouble.
I don't know that it defined me. It probably, I don't know. I feel like it was,
Just another thing.
no, it was definitely defiance in some way, but not like I think my parents are horrible defiance, right? Like I think now, if I can articulate it as an adult, I can probably say I believe that I had this emotional wealth of maybe not, that's not this, the emotional well, a full emotional well, and I just didn't feel like anybody else had that and could understand it. So I just was like, I need an outlet for this because people don't understand why I'm crying. They think I'm sad and I'm tender. I'm not tender. I'm mad. And my tears are keeping me from doing other things. Angry tears, right? Like they come out first. So, but it was hard to really, I couldn't really express it then. I didn't know how to express it. And I just kind of felt like, I don't know what to do.
Trapped.
Yeah. And I was like, how do I get out of here? Okay. Also, though, I had, not the best track record with friends.
You did. Sketchy judgment. I don't know why.
It wasn't judgment. It was, I didn't have friends. I did not have, if you think about that.
Some of them were not good.
Well, that was on the latter end, right? But if you think about like elementary, middle school, like into high school, I did not have, I did not have a lot of friends. So then by the time I get to high school, I was like, somebody's being nice. I was like, cool. But without any like discernment. Right. Because at that point, I just was like, oh, a friend.
Not, ma'am.
No.
Sketchy.
Yes.
Where are they today?
I can tell
we
you.
don't know.
No,
You do know.
I know.
Oh, well, we know.
I know.
Okay, but hold on. That makes me think of another question when it comes to this love thing with family. Because you and Dad always had that, unflare your nostrils. Y'all have always had that kind of tension. I feel like as I've watched it, obviously I see it differently because I was observing it, not in it. I always saw it as Dad especially had a season of travel in some of your younger years. Probably now I feel as a parent, probably had guilt mixed with his personality of a controlling, kind of protective, that probably just, there was no middle because it was either he was out of town and he had come home and be like all these things mixed with you being a different temperament. So there was more for him to do when he came home, like all that probably led to you and your frustrations that lasted even past college, like the tension, the love, hate, kind of like, I love my daddy, but and he and I are similar. So we disagree too, but then we just like, whatever, we move on, right? So I'm curious because I know, especially now as our parents get older, we see them different, we're different. How has that relationship for you, do you think you've had to be intentional about seeing him differently in his intentions and blah, 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 in order to relate to him differently as the years have passed? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
I'm always asking what was intentional, what was organic. Like, did you actually have to have conversations in your head like, I don't think he meant it like that?
Well, to be like super fair, I think because of our just lack of understanding, I think, of one another, it caused me to just be super distant. So I didn't need to have a whole bunch of, he didn't mean it like that because I wasn't talking to him a whole bunch.
Yeah.
All right. I would talk to him through mom.
Right.
Is that okay?
He loves that.
He's right. Is that okay? Yeah. Fine. Okay, great. But I remember even in college, I think there was some intentionality on Dad's part. Poor thing.
He tried.
Dad, who always made sure that we had Valentine's chocolates and candy
so sweet.
and
He
all
did.
the things, he'd be out of town and call. I need you to go look in the garage at the cabinet on my driver's
had our stuff
side.
hidden.
Yes, and it would be like something. So, and he'd been gone for like a week, so
Yes.
he had bought all this stuff. He
Yeah.
had hidden
Now,
it.
The big ones for your mother.
Right. So he would do all of that, right?
Right.
But for any other holiday, mom buys the cards, right? So, or birthday. So I think it was, and once I think we graduated, he didn't do Valentine's Day cards as much. It was mostly when we were in the house. Mom did them and just signed both their names. But there was one year that I was in college that I got a card from mom. And I mean, it was from mom and dad, but it was from mom. And it said dad and mom, and it had, her little words in there. And then like 2 days later, I got another card
From Dad.
from dad. And it was the
They were
same.
not coordinated.
It was the same card. Oh. And I think my name was spelled wrong.
Whatever he's
No, I'm serious. There was like a extra letter or something there. I was like, what is this? But I knew it was Dad's handwriting. So I was just like, so when I opened it, I was like looking at the two cards like,
It's the same.
and so when I got it, I was like, he really tried. Yeah. So I think like in those moments, so let's say I was 22, 23, like in those moments, I think like that effort was like, you know what? You could probably give some effort. Like call dad.
Yeah.
Like okay, now I need a tissue. Like
I
the
haven't
same
used it
one.
still. It's in
I
my
know, but
hand,
that's all
though.
balled up with like your hand juice on it.
Hand juice. Well, my hands are sweaty.
Yeah.
Go
Anyway,
in your eyes.
I think those moments were like, call dad. And even though we didn't talk long, talking to dad is like talking to granny.
Right. How
You
doing?
call, how you
All
doing?
right,
Dad,
then.
it's so good to talk to you. All right.
Then.
Wait a minute.
Right.
I called to talk to you. He's like, no, I just needed to know that you were going to call. We don't need to actually talk. What?
Right.
So,
I feel caught up.
yeah, I haven't said anything. Right. No, but that's fine. So, like, speaking to intentionality, I know now, like, the conversations, I can better understand Dad and, like, how he receives love. And I think as a super emotional kid, I was just like, and also just straight up immaturity. Like you think I love this way, everybody is supposed to love this way. And if they don't love that way, you just think you're so right. If everybody doesn't love you that way, they must not love you.
They must not love me.
And so you're just
you
like,
know what
I
I
just
need
don't
and you're
understand.
not
Yeah, and you're not giving it to me. And as I got older, like even now, if I go to the house, I may talk to mom for an hour, 2 hours. We may plan to go run errands. I want to go to the grocery store. I'll go. It doesn't matter, right? Dad doesn't care. I'm going to speak to Dad when I get there. I'm going to be at the house 3 or 4 hours.
And then he's going to text you later like, thanks for that visit.
Yeah, we never talked to you.
made
He's just
our
happy
day.
to know that you're in the house.
Yeah.
So and he may come out and get his, 8th cup of coffee for the day before he switches over to water, before he switches over to whatever. Right.
Yeah.
He's going to see you. He may or may not say anything to you, but he knows you're there. I come out, sometimes he's on the patio. He's got his radio, gospel music on blast with a glass of wine. And he's just facing the yard. Yeah. I come and give him a hug. He does not come inside. No. He sits back down. Yeah. And then in 2 hours when I leave, I knock on the door.
I'm leaving.
Bye.
Oh, all right.
And he'll get up, he'll come in, and then he may just gather all his things and be like, it is dark. Yeah, come in. Gives me a hug. Now you call me when you get home. Dad, I gotta take this route.
Just
Okay.
'cause. That's right.
All right, Dad. All right, Tresa, it's late. 7 o'clock.
Right.
But it doesn't, like that's how
Don't
he
you wish,
loves.
like, dang, why didn't I know this when I was 20?
I know.
Like I wasted a lot of, not wasted, you have to learn, but there was a lot of energy that I was either negative energy I was giving or missing out on some of the benefits of just kicking it with my dad. Like, so for me, it's with mom. And it's not because mom did anything. She's super sweet. But, I've had moments where y'all caught me at the wrong moment. And I'm like, y'all always hanging out together. Like mom will call, what are you doing? Mom, where are you? I'm in Frisco with Tresa.
I live in Frisco, and I'll be like, you're
came
not at
from
home.
DeSoto to Frisco, and you're not calling me to say you're in the area. Can you come by? You're calling to say which Chick-fil-A did we go to last time? What? Oh my gosh! It used to just get under my skin, and I was like, they just hang out and they own little thing, and it didn't even cross their mind. Like, what's Jada doing? Then this is the excuse. You always busy, so we didn't check. Okay, so then I had to really, as time passed on, I was like, okay, this is how you have to be intentional. Because I said, either you're going to go spend time with your parents, if that's what it is, spend time with your sister, if that's what it is, get lunch together. And then all those other times, quit acting like you want to be invited. Because if they had called, you probably would have said no. So,
But to that end,
but it can create like, I don't want to say resentment. It wasn't that heavy, but just kind of feels like
a little
it's not
thing.
fair. And and I was like, it really gets in the way, because even with family, I have to be like, this is my mother. She literally is more like my sister than me. Like, me and mom can talk, but not for hours, because we're not wired the same, and that's okay. And so getting out of just child mode and saying adult. This is another woman. She connects to this other woman who happens to be my sister in a different way than me. And it's no slight against me. Like that was a minute for me.
That's a hard lesson to learn. I will tell you, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
2025?
Okay, it was 2024. Okay. But it was recent.
Yeah.
It was within like 3 months. You and mom went to lunch. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I was, because I was like,
how does it feel?
Whatever. What I thought was, Jada don't go to lunch with mom. Why are they out?
My own, they'd be your own family.
But she doesn't though. So I was like,
Did you go to lunch?
Y'all did something.
Oh, yeah.
And I was
because like in the last 3 years, I've been intentional. I was like, quit waiting.
Yeah, but I was like, but why isn't this on our thread?
Oh, because
right?
Listen, every family, you have multiple threads.
Yeah.
We got the whole family thread.
Yeah.
Then we have all girls, which is just me, mom, and my sister. My dad's always like, y'all don't tell me nothing. And then, of course, me and my mom have a thread. And then my mom and my sister have a thread. And then me and my sister have a thread.
And then there is a thread that Conway is on, although he would probably prefer.
He doesn't answer those things. And daddy just be like,
well, want to let everybody know. I will tell him it's fine.
He's not reading it. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I won't say that I felt that, but I felt that the same way you did. But it was almost like, that's my friend. Why is she hanging on my friend? Even though that's both our mom. I mean, it's the truth. Because the other part of it was like, but like, why did you have to be on a separate thread to ask her that? Like, I know y'all are talking about stuff that's, we talk about stuff. But it was almost like, I could have known and not gone and been fine. It's the...
Did I initiate the lunch though?
I don't know.
We've tried to be better about it because, we have many years to catch up on.
Yes. And then I was like, well, I could have been on the thread and not gone. And then it, went to the separate thread for details. But I knew, right?
Yeah.
It's the not knowing and finding out. Yeah. You're like, so y'all just hanging out?
Oh, really? Just going to post about it? Right.
Yeah. But like, I think you're right. I think it's the intentionality. But then even like in that moment when I had that thought, I just was like, Jada doesn't spend a lot of time with mom, so... She must have had a free moment. Mom's always free. Mm-hmm. So she must have had a free moment and mom could come out here or meet somewhere. And I just was like, you know what? Good for Jada. I was like, I still don't know why I didn't know. But also.
I could have known.
I could have known. But also, good for Jada. And so I was like, okay. But I think, so I will say this. I think mom and I have had this conversation where, like, when we didn't invite you somewhere, it was never intentional.
Yeah.
It was always like,
it's because y'all talk all the time. So
and it's always like
let's meet
mom's
at the
coming
store.
over to help me work on a project that I have like set up in the garage. Jada's not coming over for that.
Yeah,
like I know, like,
but it's not even. But see,
but it's
I
the knowing.
Went, like, hey, mom's gonna be by here. If you're out here, just come by and say,
yeah,
hey. Right.
It's the knowing, right? So then it's always when you experience the other side that you're like, oh, I see how. Okay, I could probably. But that makes you love differently.
It sure does.
It makes you understand someone else differently.
You're informed on another person's perspective.
Yes, and you're like,
I see that.
Oh, I can see it. I will say, interestingly enough, probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, the Lord has started dealing with me. It is not a project that has seen its end. But he started dealing with me in this area of shifting your perspective. And it really had to do with... when someone has hurt you or you have perceived this hurt, right? What he started asking me was, have you ever done that to somebody?
Ooh, mess you up. Because every time is a resounding
yes. And I was like, right? So that changed.
No, that's not the point, Lord.
That's not what we're talking about here. You are switching the subject. We are talking about my thing.
Yeah, he's saying
and he's like, well, it's all inclusive. So have you ever done that to somebody? How did they feel potentially? Can you guess about how that may have made them feel? How was their response to you related to how they felt because of this hurt?
Yep.
Right? Because going back to our text messages, these long diatribes you send each other, mostly me to you, you know, it's always the perception of you hurt my feelings. You did this to me. This is who I am, and this is the wrong that I have encountered, right? But if you step out of that and you say, you know what? One, it is not all about me. Two, other people have feelings. They may be different from mine, and they may, you know, outwardly express them differently. But if you step back and say, how might I have responded?
Oh my goodness.
If someone had said that to me, right? It changes everything, Jada.
Yeah.
It changes everything. It changes
Then
how you
give the
love.
person
It changes
grace.
how
You're
you.
like, oh, that's better than what I would have said. Like if you really start thinking,
Yes,
I'll be like,
absolutely.
Oh, they did better than me.
Yeah,
Shucks.
absolutely. It changes how you love people. It changes how you talk to them. It changes how you, in your case, parent. And I say that because there are two 20-year-olds on my team that I feel like I am parenting constantly.
Yeah.
And yes,
Understanding changes.
understanding children. Yeah. And so, but sometimes, actually, I have three 20-year-olds that I'm parenting. And when they ask me questions or they say something that may internally really, really frustrate me, I think, who is this person? Why are they asking me that question? How are they going to feel based on my level of response? And what kind of response am I going to get back from them based on my level of response because of my own internal frustration, which has nothing to do, well, I mean, it has something to do with them, but they can't control
It's still
that.
about me dealing with my stuff.
Yeah.
Then you start realizing how much power you have
Oh,
in
my
a relationship.
goodness.
You're like, oh my gosh, a text message that frustrated me, either waiting to respond or being like, cool, let me think about it. Versus, I was like, man, you can send a relationship into several days of needing recovery.
Yep.
Or being like, cool, I get you. And I might not even really get you, but I need a minute
To
And I
process
don't have,
this.
you don't
and
have to
yeah.
like,
Yes, and it changes everything. And all of a sudden, that person sees you the next day. It's not awkward. They speaking because you kept it. You said, I'm going to work this out with the Lord. Like, why is that rubbing me the wrong way? Like, most of the stuff we got going on does not need to be worked out with the other person. It's just in you.
Absolutely.
and you can love freely. And then they come
Absolutely.
in with the good news. Guess what? You can celebrate the good news.
And I can. And you know what? What I have done before, I celebrate your good news, and then I still give you a side eye because I'm mad at you about that other thing. But that is not going to
Yes,
impact
but also
how we.
congratulations.
Yeah, that's not going to impact
Yeah.
how I celebrate you, how I show up for you, how I walk with you. I am still mad about this other thing, and we are going to talk about that. But what did you come in here to tell me right now?
birthday.
Yes, happy birthday with a full attitude. We will celebrate later. Go on. But it just changes everything.
I
That
think
power
that's
in a
interesting,
relation,
too.
power dynamic is crazy.
Well, and the ability to navigate multiple facets of a relationship. That we can be unresolved on this. Yep. Great on this. Still working. Like, it's okay. That's the fullness of a relationship. You don't have to be good in every area to be good.
And we won't be.
Yeah.
Also, the humanity of it. And I think that more than anything, I think that's what Jesus wants us to understand. Like the humanity of who we are. Like I think we know we're not perfect. Only Jesus was perfect.
Yeah.
But in our mind, we are holding everybody to this unrealistic expectation of perfection, which is why we're mad that they didn't respond the way we wanted.
But
which
we
is
want grace.
we want it. And so you're just like, and so I feel like Jesus, God is like, hey, knock, knock, knock. Remember all that time I gave you grace? That's the other thing in the shift of perspective. Have you hurt someone this way before? But also, have you done something like this before that I gave you grace for? And why aren't you able to give that grace to?
Help me understand.
Yeah, let's walk through that. And so it's like, it makes me take a deep breath. It makes me think about it before I say the next thing. And so I'm like,
That grace is huge. I think and I keep going back to this family dynamic because I'm like, I'm grateful now to be like, oh, I enjoy time with my family. And I'm thinking about, instead of being like, oh, I wish my mom and dad had done this, isn't it? Which is what you do for a season. Then you're like, psh, parents are great, you know? Because now as I'm raising kids, I'm like, man, I want my kids to want to come back to my house 10 years or 15 years, or when they're grown, when they don't have to want to be around me. Like, I love having lunch with my mother. I love visiting my grandmother. I love hanging out with my sister. My dad still cracks me up. He still sends me some funny text. And I'll be like, sir, what are you?
cut it out,
He's
please.
still funny. And
Yeah.
so I was like, man, I'm grateful for some different perspective on not just loving by default because of
Right.
who they are.
Because that's how we started.
That's how we start.
Yep.
But then you grow into that love. So yeah. Well, thank you, sister.
Thanks for having me,
This
Jay.
was so good. Oh my gosh. What an amazing conversation. Come on, be the light, shine. That shirt is literally shining.
It is.
It is. It's like a light bulb.
It is. You know, and I have a shoe that is as bright, but I thought, you know, but not for this. Yeah, we'll just go with a neutral base.
This is my sister. Thank you for being on my podcast. We must do it again.
We must.
I love you and I like you.
No. Listen.
Oh, that's something right there.
Listen. One is required. The other one?
Mm-hmm. Optional. Shifting.
Yeah.
I like you too.
Okay. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, make sure leave a comment, leave a review, share, subscribe, all the things, and we'll catch you next time.